Hi everyone, welcome to Yoga with Heini. I'm Heini, and today we're going to talk about breathing patterns, especially in our asana practice. When to breathe in, when to breathe out when we are practicing yoga poses. Is there a correct way or not? Let's talk about that. When to breathe in and when to breathe out when we're doing our asana practice. There are certain patterns, and you certainly hear teachers giving quite specific breathing patterns for asana practice. But the truth is that there is no one right or wrong way to breathe when we are practicing our yoga poses. There are certain reasons for when to breathe out, when to breathe in, and let's start by talking about those. So often, exhalations, kind of traditionally talking, exhalations, breaths out, are used for movements that are kind of closing in or moving downwards. And inhalations are used for more kind of opening, so opening the front side poses or movements that are poses that are kind of moving up, movements that are moving upwards, so coming up. We tend to breathe in, moving down, we tend to breathe out. And this could be quite a helpful breathing pattern. There is something quite helpful in breathing in and allowing the whole front side to open, kind of breathing to the chest, breathing to the belly, feeling that opening on the front, and then breathing out. We are letting the air come out. We are emptying our lungs. It might be easier to feel kind of the front side closing in. And there's also this quite natural release when we breathe out. So releasing downwards, moving deeper down into a pose with exhalation. There might feel like quite natural patterns for us when we are moving, even in everyday life. You might observe these patterns when you are just going about your everyday activities. But we could challenge these patterns as well, and we could say that it would be more natural to open the back side when we breathe in, because when we breathe in, kind of anatomically speaking, there is actually more space on the back side of our torso for those inhalations to expand. So we could also say that actually those kind of forward bending movements when we open the back side, they could be more natural with an inhalation. So curving the spine forward and breathing in and sending the breath, sending the inhalation to the back side of the body, to the back of the lungs, to the back of the ribs. And also, again, more anatomically speaking, going into an exhalation. So when we go into back bend, we are opening the front and taking spine into a back bending shape, into an extension. It's actually for the spine, it's easier for the spine to release and move into that back bend with an exhalation. It is easier for the spine to release into a back bend when we breathe out. So then that would suggest kind of completely opposite breathing pattern when we talk about this moving back and forward with the spine. So there is a case for both. So that already suggests that there is no one right or wrong way. We can use the breath to send awareness and send more opening to one side of the body, whether it's the front or the back. And you could play with, for example, a cat-cow movement. A cat-cow movement is a really good way to explore this front and back side movement and changing the breath pattern. Then another case for using different breath patterns is the core engagement. So with exhalation, so when we breathe out, it might be easier to get the core engaged. We have our accessory breathing muscles, some of them kind of breathing muscles that help enforce the exhalation, most of them are kind of down here in the belly area. So we can use them to, in a way, kind of squeeze the breath out. So then if we use the exhalation to enforce the core engagement, we might get a bit more support in the whole core structure. So then when we do kind of strong movements, using exhalation for that hardest part of the movement, for that part of the movement that requires most core engagement, could be a really handy way. It could be really helpful for the movement. So using that exhalation that kind of draws in the lower belly, lifts in and up through the pelvic floor, squeezes the sides gently in, and even helps with hip flexor engagement. So using exhalation for movements that really requires core engagement could be a really handy breath pattern. Then, again, on the other side, there is a case as well to use inhalation for movements that require to keep the core stable, because when we breathe in, it increases our abdominal pressure, which in a way creates a natural support, kind of natural brace around and along the spine as well. So creating more pressure around the spine, in the torso, in the abdominal cavity, could also be made into a case to use the inhalation for movements that require stability in the core and along the spine. So yeah, increasing that internal abdominal cavity pressure might be also a case for more core support. So again, there's no clear one right or wrong pattern. I tend to teach using exhalation for that kind of stronger core activation, because I think it's a bit easier to feel that kind of action in the core. Again, that's just kind of my preference. So there's no right or wrong way to do that. When we come to yoga practice, if you haven't done a lot of breath work before, it might feel quite forced and quite awkward to follow the breathing cues that your teacher might give in the practice, and it might feel that, oh, it's impossible to breathe the way the teacher is telling me to breathe when I'm trying to do these movements as well. And that's really kind of natural and normal reaction, because we are starting to challenge our normal breath patterns. We all have breathing patterns, and whether we are aware of them or not. So breathing patterns and ways to breathe that we use in our everyday life. And when we come to yoga practice and you are given certain breath patterns, even certain breathing techniques, those patterns, those new patterns and techniques, they start to challenge our existing breathing patterns. And that's why it might feel quite challenging to begin with. You're also trying to combine it with a certain movement. So your brain is working a lot as well to kind of choreograph the movements and the breaths together. But essentially, we are starting to challenge our breathing patterns and learn new breath patterns. And that's a really healthy thing to do. It is really healthy to challenge our patterns in order to learn new patterns, and in order to kind of widen those patterns that we have available, so that when we come to new situations, we can also, our breathing is also going to be more adaptable to those new situations. And then we do our yoga practice for a while, we get quite accustomed to a certain breath pattern. Maybe our teacher always gives a certain breath pattern for a certain movement. And we might get a bit stuck in those new breath patterns that we've been given. So first they felt quite challenging, but then we get used to them. And then it might be that we get stuck in those new breath patterns. And every time we do a certain movement, we're always breathing in a certain way. Let's say we do cat-cow, maybe we're always rounding the back when we breathe in, we're always arching the back when we breathe out. And we can get stuck in that breath pattern as well. So then that's where I think mixing up those breath patterns and kind of continually changing and challenging our breath patterns is going to be a healthy way to go. And it's healthy to challenge those breath patterns and just switching the way you breathe in your practice, in your asana practice as well. So maybe one day you come onto your mat, and even if the teacher is still giving you that same breath pattern, you just change it for yourself. So maybe now you're exhaling when you round your back into the cat, and then inhale when you open the chest, when you arch the back. And again, you might find it feeling very, very kind of awkward and challenging to come into that new breathing pattern, but you're just starting to challenge yourself, and you might end up finding new dimensions in the movements as well when you change the breath pattern. So it's easy to get stuck. I think in the beginning, when we start our yoga practice, it can be really helpful to have just one breath pattern that we always use, because you're really busy focusing on the movements, you're trying to keep breathing at the same time. So I think in the beginning, it's very helpful to have a certain breath pattern. So we have something to start working with, trying to synchronize the breath and the movements. But when we start to become more advanced, we are more familiar with the movements, I think then it would be really healthy to start changing and challenging the breath patterns that we use. And kind of mixing it up. Maybe one day you breathe this way, maybe the next day you breathe in a different way. And just explore the awareness that you can send to your body, and use the breath as a tool to explore different sides, different areas of your body in different ways. And you might find new sides, new areas of your body as well. And then one more aspect would be to breathe in or out to feel more grounded. I think many people can feel that grounding more when they exhale, kind of really rooting down, sending the weight down when they breathe out. But at the same time, I think we can also feel more grounded when we breathe in. And if we think about our diaphragm, that biggest breathing muscle, when we breathe in, it is moving down slightly. So I like to also think that we could ground ourselves by breathing in together with that movement of the diaphragm going down towards the ground. So again, two sides, and you might find more grounding with exhalation, you might find more grounding with inhalation. So now I would invite you to come do a little experiment together with me using the Sun Salutation as our asana practice. And we're going to do the Sun Salutation sequence 3 times, each round with a different breathing pattern. Exactly same movements, but different breathing patterns. And see how that feels, if it changes your movement experience, your breathing experience at all. So let's try 3 rounds of Sun Salutations, and each round we're going to use a different breathing pattern. It's a good experiment to just see and feel how changing the breath pattern can also change how the movement feels and how we might be able to engage better or worse. But just try these 3 different rounds and see if one of them maybe works better for you, and if you can find something new, if you can challenge your own breathing patterns with these 3 rounds. First round is going to be this more traditional way, when to breathe in, when to breathe out, that you probably most often come across when practicing Sun Salutation. So we're going to use inhalations for uplifting movements, exhalations for movements that go down. Starting from Tadasana pose, from mountain pose. First, just breathe in and out. Then inhale, lengthen arms, lengthen back up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into flat back, halfway lift. And exhale, bring hands down, bend the knees. Inhale, step into plank pose. Exhale to low plank. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale into downward dog. Breathe in and out in downward dog. And then inhale, look forward to your hands. Exhale, step or jump your feet to your hands. Inhale again, flat back, halfway lift. And exhale, bend down, full forward bend. Inhale, roll the back up, lift the back, the arms up. And exhale, come back down into your mountain pose. So that's first, the more traditional way. Now we're going to reverse that breath pattern. So every time when we're inhaling, we're now going to be exhaling and vice versa. So start again from your mountain pose. Now exhale, reach arms and back up. Inhale, fold forward. Exhale into flat back, halfway up. And inhale, bend the knees, bring the hands down. Exhale, step into plank pose. And inhale to low plank. Exhale into upward facing dog. And inhale into downward facing dog. Again, breathe in and out in your downward dog. And then exhale, look forward to your hands. Inhale, step or jump the feet forward. And exhale into flat back, halfway up. Inhale, round the back, come into your full forward bend. And then exhale, roll the back up, lift the back, reach arms up. And inhale, release the arms down, come back into your mountain pose. Good. And just see, how did that feel? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And then we're going to do one more round, and this time we're going to move when we breathe out. So we're only moving from one pose to another with exhalation. Inhalations, we always stay in the pose we are in. So first, start again. One more round from mountain pose. And then exhale, reach the arms up. Inhale, stay there, maybe lengthening more up. And then exhale to full forward bend, folding forward. Then inhale there. And then exhale, bend the knees, bring hands down. Inhale. And exhale, step into your plank. Inhale, stay in the higher plank. And then exhale, come down into low plank. Inhale, stay in low plank. And then exhale into upward facing dog, opening the front. Inhale, stay there. And then exhale into downward dog, lifting the pelvis up. Again, we breathe a couple of times in downward dog. And then as you exhale, look forward to your hands. Inhale, prepare. And exhale, step or jump the feet forward. Inhale. And then exhale, extend the back into flat back, reaching head away from the tail. Inhale there. And then exhale, bending down, again folding forward. Inhale there. And then exhale, again roll the back up, reach arms up. And inhale, stay there. Exhale, release the arms down. And we are back in mountain pose. That's 3 rounds of Sun Salutation with different breathing patterns. So how did that feel? Did it feel at all different to do those 3 rounds of Sun Salutations with different breathing patterns? For me personally, it feels really quite completely different, but it makes me focus on different areas of each movement, different aspects of each movement, and it makes me feel kind of more or less grounded depending on whether I'm inhaling or exhaling. So there are those different elements that you can explore by changing the breath pattern with same movements. Good, that's all from me today. I hope you got some ideas from this. If you have any questions, leave comments in the comments below, and I'd be really happy to hear what you think about this and how did that practice of Sun Salutations feel for you. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you did, click subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of any new videos. I'll be posting lots more yoga related videos on this channel. I also teach online yoga classes, and if you're interested in those, you'll find more information in the description box below and on my website. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.